I'm John Basl. I'm an associate professor of philosophy in the Department of Philosophy and Religion and an associate director of AI and data ethics initiatives at the Ethics Institute, as well as a member of the Institute for Experiential AI. I would say my research sort of has two broad directions. Some of my work is taking insights from moral philosophy and translating them into practical, useful tools for people doing work in machine learning and AI. So it's about taking insights from ethics, translating them into terms and methods and tools that practitioners can use, and working with those practitioners to make more ethical AI. I started working in the ethics of AI in response to problems that were coming up in the AI space and lots of requests from people in industry and academia to sort of think about these issues. There were some intrinsically interesting issues to me, but I really was motivated by people asking questions about these technologies, like how do I use them fairly? What does it mean for my algorithm to be biased? How should I think about transparency? And they thought, I think correctly, that philosophers had a lot to add to those conversations. And so I was really motivated to think through those problems. Another thing that motivates my work is there's lots of people that misunderstand the way these technologies work, especially from the humanities. And so they provide pretty bad advice about how to use, build, and govern these technologies. And so another motivation for me is really understanding the nuances of how, for example, machine learning work, and making sure I'm offering advice or drawing on moral principles or the correct moral principles or tools to resolve problems and actually make practical, useful advice that actually captures the moral values we care about. So when I think about how it is that we can actually get practical ethical advice into the hands of, for example, engineers and designers and the people building things like autonomous vehicles or other AI systems, there's just so many facets of those problems that I don't have a particular, like, here are the set of rules you should follow. Instead, one major component of my work is thinking about how to structure oversight or ethics committees or working groups to solve these kinds of problems, whether that means building something like an oversight committee or embedding ethicists in engineering teams or working closely with a group of engineers to settle on a process for thinking about these problems. So I think at this point, it's a lot more important that we bring people together, multidisciplinary teams together, so that they can start communicating with one another and understanding each other's languages, and then use that process to sort of identify the problems and approach it carefully and thoughtfully, rather than having any set of particular rules. A lot of this is going to be based on judgment calls of particular teams and engineers and companies. And so the best way to approach that is to get the right people in the room and have them asking the right questions.